Not long after takeoff, a commercial airliner was still climbing when the captain suddenly sensed something was wrong. Out of nowhere, a massive flock of birds rushed straight toward the aircraft. In almost the same instant, both engines were struck. The impact was severe. Power dropped immediately. Inside the cockpit, the crew couldn't see what had happened outside, but they could clearly feel the thrust falling fast. The captain reacted at once, attempting to restart the engines. But no matter what procedure he tried, there was no response. Moments later, the aircraft began to lose electrical power. The cabin went dark. Passengers had no idea what was happening. The captain quickly realized this was no ordinary malfunction. He activated the auxiliary power unit, restoring only the most basic systems. Flight attendants moved fast. They calmed the passengers, repeating one instruction again and again. Keep your seatbelts fastened. Most people believed this was just another patch of turbulence. But inside the cockpit, the crew was racing against time. The first officer pulled out the emergency checklist. The captain immediately contacted air traffic control, requesting an emergency landing at the nearest airport. The tower responded instantly, clearing the runway and preparing for flight 1549 to return. But within seconds, the aircraft's altitude on his experience, Captain Sully made a critical judgment. Returning to the airport was no longer possible. Attempting to turn back would only increase the danger. There was only one remaining option, a controlled landing on the nearby river. To give everyone on board a chance to survive, the captain issued the command. The cabin was instructed to brace for impact. Then, Flight 1549's radar signal vanished from the screen. On the ground, silence filled the room. Because historically, the survival rate of water landings was almost non-existent. But inside the cockpit, Sully showed no sign of panic. 42 years of flying experience kept him remarkably calm. Behind him were 155 lives. Some passengers began writing final messages. Others made phone calls to say goodbye to their loved ones. The flight attendants continued repeating commands. Even in the most dangerous moment, they never abandoned their duty. The aircraft was now less than 50 meters above the water, collected the flight records, and left the aircraft as the final person to evacuate. On shore, the rescued passengers didn't complain. They didn't panic. There was only relief, the quiet realization that they had survived. But Sully never smiled. Until every name was accounted for, he couldn't truly rest. Final confirmation came in. All 155 people on board, including 2 infants, had survived. At that moment, Sully fulfilled his duty. It was the first successful water landing in U.S. aviation history. Sully became the focus of national attention. The media flooded in. The public called him could have returned to the airport. They questioned why he chose the riskier river landing. They trusted computer models more than a pilot's real-time judgment. They examined his schedule, his health, even his mental state, searching for a reason to label his decision as a mistake. Using data from the day of the accident, they ran multiple computer simulations. The results showed the plane could return safely. Every simulation succeeded. Those results made Sully begin to doubt himself. The plane crashed into the heart of New York City. The investigation continued. If the water landing was ruled an error, he would lose everything. A 42-year career could end in disgrace. At the breaking point, Sully realized one crucial flaw. Computer simulations assumed zero reaction time. Humans don't. He requested that real pilots conduct the simulation with realistic reaction delays added. And if the plane could still return safely, he said he would accept all responsibility. At the final hearing, the simulation began. First, with no reaction delay, the aircraft returned safely. Sully pointed out this wasn't realistic. Then, a 35-second reaction delay was added. The simulation restarted. This time, the aircraft lost too much altitude and crashed near the airport. A second return route ended even worse. The plane slammed into a populated area. The room fell silent. Everyone finally understood. Safe return was never truly possible. Then the black box recordings were played. The cockpit audio confirmed both engines had fully failed. After the bird strike, recovered engine debris proved the same. The earlier data models had been wrong, which meant every decision Sully made was based on real conditions. maximizing survival for everyone on board. In the end, the investigation board reached a unanimous conclusion. The water landing was the only correct choice. Sully wasn't taking a risk. Under extreme circumstances, he executed a textbook response. And Sully made one thing clear. This success was never his alone. It was the crew working together, the passengers following instructions, the tower and rescue teams acting in sync. This was not a story of individual heroism. It was a story of people doing the right things at the right time, together.